So you want to write a book. Great idea. As someone who's written and self-published 10 books, I can heartily recommend the challenge of writing a book. It might be the biggest and best thing you do in your life. But as an author of multiple books, I've also made lots of mistakes along the way. And in this video, I wanted to share some of those big boo-boos so you can avoid them and hopefully be more successful sooner. One of the most exciting things about my first book, A Home Office You Love, was that I'd organised a launch for the Home-Based Business Association in Melbourne. This was my perfect audience, and over 100 people had registered to attend the breakfast where I was the guest speaker. And I thought, well, I could probably sell 30 to 50 books here and probably pick up some clients as well. But 2 days before the launch, Melbourne had a massive rainstorm and the venue where we were having the breakfast was washed out and the event was cancelled. And that made me rethink what a launch is. Instead of it being one single event, you want to consider the launch of your book as when you first announce it to your audience, right through to when the book's available and on into the future. To a certain extent, your launch never ends. When I first published my books way back in the early 90s, there was no internet. And when you sold them in bookstores, there was no way that I could find out who actually bought them. Thankfully, that's all changed. Now, particularly if you're selling directly from your website, you know exactly who's bought them and you can start a conversation with them. The big mistake I made in those early days was firstly not having my contact details in the books. Second, I had contact details that became out of date. They were websites that I no longer keep current. To avoid this mistake, you want to make sure you've got a permanent location that you can send your readers to. And this might be 5 years, 10 years in the future. You don't know when they're going to contact you. Don't think of your book as a one-off purchase or one-off sale. Instead, think of it in terms of the relationships you can build with people over time. There's an old saying that says you shouldn't judge a book by its cover. But people do, and rightly so. My first book, A Home Office You Love, was designed by my good friend Jonathan Hannon, and he's done a spectacular job. The icon of the man walking with the suitcase was unique to this book. If you looked at this book, you'd probably go, hey, that's a good looking book. I might look inside. I might even buy it. My second book, I thought I could do better. And probably looking at the cover, you'll go, what a disaster that is. And it was. I think the concept was fine, but the execution of the design, when you looked at it, you were like, not interested. You wouldn't even open it up if it was in a bookstore. And that's a big fail. And to be honest, the impact that had on me was that I was embarrassed by the book. And I was embarrassed at such a level that I didn't even put it in the bookstores. I did try to sell it directly to the architect's audience that it was, but it wasn't something that I was really proud of. It takes a lot of time and effort to write a book. So don't waste that last few steps on a poor cover or a poor design or a poor layout. Because regardless of what the proverb says, people do judge your books by their covers. For my early books in the 1990s, right through to about 2010, I never really understood why I was writing my books. I used to think it was all about the book and the idea that I wanted to share. But then one day I realized that it was much deeper than this. Imagine if you were a songwriter and you never recorded your songs or wrote them down. You'd have no record of your work. Likewise, I'm an ideas guy. Unless I document and capture the ideas I'm thinking of and making and creating along the way, I've got nothing to show for my thinking and my time and effort. But worse, I've got nothing to show for my life. My books are my embodiment of my life. They're the souvenir of what I've been doing with my time and my hours and my weeks and my months and my years. A painter can point to their paintings. And for me, I turn to books so I could point to the books as the store of the ideas and the work that I've completed. This is why I've returned to writing books in the last few months. It's the ultimate self-expression for me and my ideas. The key point here is if you can get really clear about why you write books, then the process of writing them will be much easier and more inspiring. In his fabulous book, Do the Work, Stephen Pressfield asks the important question: when is your muse going to turn up? In other words, when are you going to be inspired to write? Now, you could leave this to chance, and that's the mistake that I've made. That some days I felt like writing, so I wrote. Some days I didn't, so I didn't. And sometimes that went on for weeks where I just didn't feel like writing and my progress stalled and my momentum stopped. Pressfield's message and his answer is very simple. Your muse and your inspiration will show up when you show up. To write a book will typically take between 3, 6, maybe 12 months to write. And it's not going to write itself. The key to writing books quickly, easily, and efficiently is to sit down at your desk every day and do some work. It's having a regular routine and building a habit of writing. That's the big mistake I've made. If I'd had a regular routine around my writing, instead of 10 books, I'd probably have, not even 20, I'd probably have 30 or 40 books written over the last 10 years. If you want to get your book written, don't make the same mistake. Build an unbreakable habit for you to get your writing and your book done. There is a wonderful mythical story about how Ernest Hemingway wrote his books. And effectively, he would leave the city and head off to his log cabin in the country and squirrel away in total isolation to write his books. And then when he was done, he'd come out the other end and he'd go, ta-da! Hemingway could get away with this because he was Hemingway. He had a reputation. People were sitting around waiting for his next book. But when I tried that, my audience was equally surprised, but they weren't waiting for the book. It's a big mistake to try to sell your hot new book to a cold audience. Instead, like I said earlier, you want to announce your book when you start writing it and keep talking about it all the way through the publication to when it's available wherever you're selling it. And the best part of this, if you're engaging your audience as you're writing it, they'll give you some feedback and that will help you write a better book. Everyone has their opinion and they're entitled to speak it, but it doesn't mean you have to listen. Between my first 3 books and my next one was a period of about 15 years. This is a big regret for me. As I said, writing my books is my self-expression. And during that 15 years, I didn't write any books. And the big reason was because a number of well-intentioned people said, don't write books. And their reasoning was, you're better off to be seen as a doer than someone who just talks about or writes about it. Or they said, you're not ready in your career. You need to be further advanced before you do that. That might be good general advice. But for me, that was horrible advice and I shouldn't have listened. But at the time, I did. Take a moment to consider, what are the people around you telling you about whether you should write a book or not? And then you actually have to decide and commit what's going to work for you. About 10 years ago, I bought myself a new laptop. And given the new laptop had a hard drive that was smaller than the older one, I had to manually transfer a lot of the files across to the new computer. Along the way, I found 25 unfinished books. That's 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 unfinished books. One of these books had over 200 pages of notes. 10 of these books were half written, and the rest had over 10,000 words written in as notes. Now that's almost a crime against books and a waste of my time, effort, and my life. While it's reasonable to presume that I probably didn't need to finish all 25, I think you could safely say I probably should have at least finished half of them. Don't waste your time, your effort, and your life by leaving things unfinished. Remember, Your book is not just about you, but it's also what you could be providing for other people. Now, this might be the dumbest mistake on this list of all, but I've actually written and packaged up 2 books that I still haven't published and released to the public. That's The Done Game Plan and Creative Roles. Now, I don't really have a good reason as to why I didn't. I just finished the book and then moved on to other things and didn't get around to publishing them. I told you it was dumb. And that's the ultimate failure of return on investment. I put in all this time and effort and I got nothing back from it. Dumb, dumb, dumb. Stay tuned, I am going to address this. Please don't fall for the same mistake. Once you commit to your book, commit to finishing it and build a support team around you to keep you on track and keep you going through the tough times. While writing a book and not publishing is pretty dumb, the ultimate crime against books is not writing your book at all. Think about that. You know you want to write a book and you don't. That's the route to regret. Imagine lying on your deathbed thinking back about the life that you've lived and the things that you wanted to do. Is writing a book going to be one of those regrets for you on your deathbed? There will always be 1,000,001 reasons why you shouldn't write the book, but at the end of the day, you need to commit or not commit. If it's something you're going to do, do it. If it's not something you're really committed to, cross it off your bucket list and get on with something else. So what would you add to this list? What author mistakes have you made or that you've seen other people make? Add a comment below and share your insight. So given I've shared all my mistakes, what should you do instead? And in the next video, I'll show what I would do instead. And in particular, I'll share the writing plan that I've developed for the book that I've just started writing. You'll want to steal this plan and use this to write your book. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.